Hello, my name is Caroline Poynton. I am recording this off YouTube today because I am not copywriting. I'll tell you what I'm doing and paying attention because I've been saying this for a very, very long time about pedo services, and they are all paedophiles, murderers, cover-ups, fraudies. They are the terrorists. They are the terrorist organisation. They are not a government party. Pedo services.
Hi, welcome to another episode of Hot Takes, and boy, have we got a cracking story here. You're going to want to listen to this one, so pin your ears back, get comfortable, because let us hope it comes to pass. We're going to be talking, as you can probably tell from the thumbnail, about the most evil woman in Parliament, Jess Phillips. Supposedly the safeguarding minister. It seems the only thing she's safeguarding is her own political future by not upsetting her constituents, her Muslim constituents, because she really does not want an investigation into Pakistani Muslim crimes.
Does she, folks? She doesn't want to do anything because she doesn't want to do anything because she's a selfish fucking Coca-Cola head. She's a fucking druggie. Have you seen her teeth? Yellow teeth, greasy moppy hair, and the way she fucking goes on, it's like a child throwing a dummy out the pram, the spoilt bitch.
Phillips, supposedly the safeguarding minister. It seems the only thing she's safeguarding is her own political future by not upsetting her constituents, her Muslim constituents, because she really does not want an investigation into Pakistani Muslim crimes.
Nope.
Well, I'm afraid that her position may no longer be tenable, not just as the head of the investigation into the Pakistani Muslim rape gangs, but even as a minister. It's been revealed that all 4 of the rape gang survivors who have resigned from the inquiry so far, or at least this inquiry panel, they've signed a joint statement and they've handed it over to the Home Secretary, Shabana Mahmood.
I'm glad they have.
They've set out 5 conditions. 5 conditions that they say, if met, would mean they would be willing to rejoin the panel and to carry forward the inquiry. The first demand is the one that everyone is talking about. They are demanding an immediate resignation of Jess Phillips as the safeguarding minister.
Good.
Not as the woman trying to assess the inquiry or anything. They want her gone from government, gone as a minister. Together. They've said that her conduct over the last week has shown that she is completely unfit to oversee a process that requires survivors to trust the government. Her departure would signal that the government is serious about accountability and changing direction. They want her head. The other conditions that the survivors have a say in choosing, the other conditions are that the survivors have a say in choosing the inquiry chairman. They want a judge, nothing political. They have the freedom to speak without fear. Basically, given privilege. They want that the inquiry stays focused on the scandal and isn't diluted and drawn away into other areas. And that the current victim liaison head is replaced with an independent mental health professional.
Good. Yep. And they're not going to get any of it because they don't want to do it.
Starmer is standing by Phillips.
Yep.
That indicates that he does not want this inquiry to proceed. That makes him complicit in the rape of children.
He's a pedo.
The full text goes on, but it basically means they're being failed by this government. They're not prepared to rejoin this. It's a damning indictment of the government because it's quite clear, not just to these 4 survivors, these 4 brave women, but to everyone involved and to everyone watching from the sidelines, that we have a government that knows it's complicit in the mass rape of children,
My little girl could be
that's covered it up, that's oftentimes perpetrated those rapes
by them. Yeah.
that refuses to have an inquiry because the inquiry will point the finger back at them. It will highlight to the world that the Labour Party is a party of paedophiles.
Yep, paedophiles.
Is a party that encourages the rape of children.
Yep.
By refusing to prosecute, by covering it up, by hiding it away, by burying their head in the sand.
By taking more
girls and children generally are still being raped by Pakistani Muslim rape gangs in this country, and that we have a government too craven to admit the truth.
Because he's a paedophile, that's why. So is the king, they all are.
The conditions these girls are imposed are not onerous. They're not hard.
I've been right.
They require that evil bitch, Jess Phillips, to leave government.
I've said she's
that's the only hard one as far as Starmer's concerned.
I've said
maybe actually having an independent judge rather than a political appointee that he'd like, so that he could guide the results and whitewash everything. Literally whitewash away from the brown.
Argue the points. They can't tell me I
don't
know been around prostitutes all my life. I've been a prostitute.
The very seeds, I think, of a revolution.
To be trafficked.
Because we've got a government willing to sacrifice children.
Yeah, they sacrificed me. They're sacrificing my little girl.
On the altar of the Islamification of Britain.
Giving her to them as well, innit?
Don't forget, they're desperately trying to get through this anti-Muslim blasphemy law before any kind of inquiry starts, so that we're not allowed to even discuss this in terms of Pakistani Muslim rape gangs at all, even though that's the truth. But if you mention it, oh, that's a crime. The very fact that you're talking about Pakistani Muslim rape crimes is a crime.
Yeah.
That's where we are in this country now. That's the government we've got. I don't see how this government can possibly last.
Neither do I.
We need to be on the streets. We need to be marching. We need to be protesting. We need to bring the protest into government, into Whitehall. But more importantly, we need to put every cop on notice, every policeman on notice that we're watching them. Every social worker on notice that we're watching them. Every Labour MP, every Labour councillor, every Labour member, every Labour voter. Because every single one of them is directly or indirectly or vicariously.
I'm telling me, I'm not safeguarded, and my little girl's safeguarded with them.
We need to bring the fight to them.
Because they're paedophiles.
You need to stop voting Labour, because if you are a Labour voter, you're a paedophile, and you're voting for paedophiles.
And you're in
and remember that, everyone who's not a Labour voter, if you know someone who votes Labour, remember, they are paedophiles, call them what they are, and make sure everybody knows that these are vile people.
Paedophiles, they're not people.
And the vilest of the vile, of course,
and they're all
Jess Phillips,
together.
A woman who just oozes corruption, abuse,
I wish someone had...
I'm not fighting. She's got two stenches, hasn't she? She's got the stench of her unwashed body and the stench of evil that permeates every cell of that worthless piece of human shit. And Starmer is standing by her because of course he is, the man who wouldn't prosecute Jimmy Savile, the man who's doing his utmost
and the king
to get rid of this inquiry into the mass rape of children, because I don't know, is he complicit? Has he taken the taste, if we like to put it that way? I honestly wouldn't put it past him. He even looks like a paedophile in my view.
Yeah, because he is one.
But he's certainly
and I've been saying it all this time, that they're all paedophiles. Thank you very much for that. I've been saying this all this fucking time, that they're all paedophiles. And I am
Welcome back to Safe Nation. Safeguarding Minister Jess Phillips may be on the brink of resignation over her handling of the grooming gang's national inquiry. But make no mistake, this is Sir Keir Starmer's fault, and not Jess Phillips's. Now, 5 grooming gang survivors have resigned from the inquiry panel, citing a proposed widening of the scope and downplaying of ethnicity and religion in preliminary proceedings. Here was Jess Phillips' response earlier this week.
We must avoid delays, as was seen in the independent inquiry into child sexual abuse, and progressing as swiftly as thoroughness allows. Misinformation
she was doing the
undermines
job
this
and now she's
process.
been taken over by
Allegations of
Muslims. How do I know?
intentional
I don't
delay,
know.
lack
Is
of
she being
interest
bullied
or
as well?
widening of the inquiry scope and dilution are false. The inquiry will remain laser focused on grooming gangs, as Baroness Casey recommended.
She did go on to clarify she was not referring to victims when alluding to the spreading misinformation, but then things became impassioned.
I have said that 1,000,000 times from this dispatch box, and yet the same thing gets peddled again and again.
It's very clear this issue matters to Jess Phillips and has done really through her whole career. Fighting for the victims of sexual violence has been her life's work.
No, it
But I
hasn't.
know as a former minister that sensitive political issues like this are
This is why it's been going on because of her, my love.
The decisions
been going
are
on
being
because of
taken
people
by
like
number
her. She hasn't
10
given a
Downing
shit.
Street. And it's for
Been
that
taking too
reason
much
it's no
fucking
wonder
cocaine.
things are descending into chaos. Need I remind you of this almighty, screeching U-turn?
And when politicians, I mean politicians, who sat in government for many years, are casual about honesty, decency, truth,
honesty
and the
and
rule of
decency.
law,
You wouldn't know what that is if it hit you in the fucking
calling for
head.
inquiries because they want to jump on a bandwagon of the far right.
Fucking honesty was if it hit you in the head like
Bandwagon of the far
like
right,
me.
that was what the Prime Minister called it. And before this, or after this, he had a dramatic change of heart and put it slightly differently.
On the
And a
basis of
mother
what
that's
she's
desperate to
found,
get a little
she
girl
says
back.
there should be
It's
a
a
national
fucking proper
inquiry.
safety with a
I've
mother
looked at
where
her
she's
report.
always been
I've
safeguarded
considered
with
that
me.
material. I think she's right, and that's
Well,
why
I'm
there'll be a
right.
national inquiry.
Pedo.
He didn't really want the inquiry, did he? Look
No,
at
he
him
didn't.
there.
He's a fucking
He
pedo with the
rejects
rest of
having
them.
had to do it. He felt under pressure. So could we ever have really expected this inquiry to
Not
go
real
well
nice
under
guy,
the leadership of the man who thought its entire cause
all
was
right,
far
it's all
right?
right, but-
He hasn't suddenly become a far right figure himself. And so the chaos we now see unfolding is caused by the fact that there was never the political will from the very top of the government. And now Jess Phillips, the junior minister whose life has been defined by her work for victims of sexual abuse, gets wheeled out to clear up the mess caused by Sir Keir Starmer and his inner circle of rather incompetent advisors. Phillips becomes the scapegoat for number 10's failures. Indeed, and any minister watching knows how this works. She has to defend things that were not her choice, that had she had the choice, she would have chosen something different, and those choices would probably have been better, more effective, and earlier.
Well, I've
It
just
is
said
Starmer's
she's
inner
been bullied
circle
as well.
that never wanted the inquiry in the first place because it couldn't face up to the political inconvenience of this scandal, the inconvenience that shattered the multicultural mass migration mythology. As always, let me know what you think. mailmorgan@geonews.com. Earlier today, a group of 5 survivors on the National Inquiry wrote to the Prime Minister saying they would only continue if Jess Phillips remains in post. And I'm joined now by the only one who has waived her right to anonymity, Samantha Walker-Roberts. Samantha, thank you very much for joining me. Could you set out why you think it's important Jess Phillips continues?
Yeah, thank you for having me on. It's important for Jess to stay part of this because she's been there from the beginning. She understands what we've been through. She's been there supportive behind closed doors. She's offered any support that we needed, and she stayed completely independent from this whole process.
I've always got the impression from Jess Phillips that this is a matter that has always been close to her heart, that she has campaigned in support of women who have been abused since before she entered Parliament. Why do you think she's coming under such pressure from other people?
I think it's because she seems to be the main point of contact for all of us survivors, and she's kind of getting the brunt of everything at the moment from everybody, because she can't give answers, and it's understandable why she can't, because they're out of her jurisdiction.
And that's the point, isn't it? I think you put your finger on it, that when you're a
that's the
government
point
minister,
of Keir,
you're
like
only
saying
allowed
about
to
Keir
say
Starmer's
what
fault
you're allowed
and
to say
all
by
of the
Downing
faults, then,
Street.
isn't it?
And
They
I
should have
imagine
done it,
that
set it up
Jess
properly
must be
then.
champing at the bit to say and do more, and would be feeling very let down by how Downing Street is behaving.
Well, she might be being let down as
in
well then. Why
January
does
when
she
it was
speak
announced
out
about
and
the
say
national
she's being let
inquiry,
down
we
as
was
well
having a
then?
meeting with Jess as it was being publicised on at that same time, and Jess couldn't disclose what would happen due to the fact that it hadn't been heard in Parliament yet, and a lot of survivors felt that there was a cover up and something was going on, but it was just due to the fact that she couldn't disclose it to us.
What would you like to see happen? How do you think the inquiry should go so that people who have been the victims of the most awful crimes get full information and an assurance that it won't happen in future?
This national inquiry is the first of its kind, and it needs to make sure that it covers all forms of CSE.
Yeah, but it's
Like
not.
myself, my case isn't straightforward. It doesn't follow this narrative. It's a grey area, and there's many more that follow. And this inquiry needs to ensure that all survivors have a voice and that everybody gets justice.
I've only got part of my
And
care
that seems
records.
to be the
They've got
point
sort
that
of this,
Jess
some of
Phillips
them
has been
missing.
arguing for, that all the people who have been victims of this should have the opportunity to have their case considered, and that not everybody fits into one pattern. There are variants
Well,
on the
they've never
pattern.
even listened
and
to
you
me.
mentioned that that's true of your own case.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's a huge problem. Obviously, not everybody sticks. Not everybody.
So yeah, this is why I knew that I was right about these people. You know, I knew that they are all paedophiles. You know how is that?
That stereotypical grooming by gang kind of thing. Mine was an individual that groomed me over a period of 12 months, and the gang had kidnapped me for a 24-hour ordeal, so that didn't involve grooming. Now, they could have acted as a lone wolf. We don't know, and if that can't be part of the inquiry, we'll never find out.
No, indeed. And has anybody been arrested or prosecuted for
Nope.
The abuse that you suffered from?
Nope.
Just 2 out of 11.
2 out of 11. So there's still an awful lot that needs to be done, and there's a lot of distrust, quite understandably, of the authorities, because so many of the authorities at the time took no serious action, didn't do their jobs properly.
They didn't, but I had to have a lot of trust when it was the Andy Burnham Assurance Review, and they had hired Gary Ridgway and Malcolm Newson, who was ex-police and ex-social, and surprisingly throughout that review, they found out information that I was never able to find out, and that has led to many prosecutions for other survivors within the Oldham Borough. So having that trust in them has led to multiple prosecutions.
Yes, well, Samantha Walker-Roberts, thank you so much for joining me. I cannot tell you how much I admire your courage for being willing to come on and talk about the terrible experience you have had and for making your views clear. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I'm now joined by my panel, Nigel Nelson and Tom Perslow. Tom, I want to come to you first because the Conservatives have called for Jess Phillips to resign. It's a bit ridiculous, isn't it? Because we know perfectly well that she's not making the decisions. You were Immigration Minister, you were in this situation, you had to go out to bat for stupid decisions being made by children in Downing Street, and if every minister who ever did that had to resign, we wouldn't have many ministers left.
So I can definitely relate to that analysis, that is fair to say, but I don't think that Jess's tone in the Commons helped this week. I don't think getting in the wrangle with survivors has been at all helpful. And the problem comes when the minister indefinitely becomes the story. Because this issue is far too serious for this to run on indefinitely. We need to get to the truth. I think there are things that government can do to try and course correct on this, have this as a judge-led inquiry, make sure it's timely, be very tight in terms of the scope. But this starts with a trust deficit because the shambolic way in which this has been handled. You touched on the fact that ministers were dragged into this, but that direction, as you rightly touch on, was set from number 10. Jess is taking responsibility for that in terms of scrutiny, but ultimately, as a government minister, you're hemmed in.
And to be fair to her, didn't the brouhaha in the House of Commons just show she feels very strongly about this and that she is genuinely concerned? She's not a minister who reads her brief and goes into the chamber and just, without any emotion, sets it out. She really believes in what she's doing.
Oh, definitely. And from my experience as someone who served in the Home Office and in the Ministry of Justice dealing with victims' issues,
Has she ever been abused?
Jess was always someone who would really hold your feet to the fire in terms of the steps that you were taking, the way in which you were approaching those issues and driving you hard to try and deliver on the promises that you made. She feels enormously strongly about this, but I also think that inevitably that means that if she is a blocker to this moving forward, I do actually think that she would take the step to resign because she cares so much about this.
Nigel, Downing Street inevitably makes serious policy decisions like this. It was very reluctant to have an inquiry. That wasn't great for trust, was it? And that it's got to do a lot of recovery from its earlier position.
Yeah, I mean, the reason for opposing the inquiry in the first place was the Alexis J inquiry, which took 7 years, and we still haven't implemented the recommendations of that. The danger of a new inquiry is that will delay those recommendations a bit further. I agree with you. I think that Jess Phillips shouldn't resign. I think she's doing her best in the circumstances, but the problem you've got here, as we can see, is not all the survivors agree with each other. So if you've got 4 who say the inquiry shouldn't be expanded and Jess should go, and 5 who say the inquiry should be expanded and Jess should stay, what you've got to do somewhere along the line is get those 2 sides together.
I wonder if it's true of all of us that we haven't quite fully comprehended the degree of awfulness of this scandal, that it's 1,400 abused in one of the areas. The numbers are staggering, and it's taken years and years for anything to happen. I just wonder whether there's a point at which problems get so big that people don't know what to do, and this affected us when we were in government, it's now affecting Labour.
Well, I still think your problem area is going to be with the survivors. I mean, Jimmy Gamble, one of the prospective chairmen, was on GB News yesterday. He sounded like an ideal person to chair the inquiry, but he said, quite rightly, if some of the survivors don't have confidence in him, he would have to go. So the job that Jess has got, and I think that Jess is the only one who can really do it, is to sit down with the survivors and with the different factions and try and bring them together with an inquiry that they can all accept.
And these are, of course, people who have been through the most terrible thing, and therefore, quite rightly, there's a sensitivity to what they want to try and put it right after years when the state allowed this abuse to go on. It wasn't creating it, but it turned a blind eye to it.
And this is why the principal focus has to be on carrying the confidence of the survivors.
Right,
and all of this comes back to that. And so I would hope that there will be a coming together, getting people around the table and trying to make the progress, exactly as Nigel has just touched on, that I think all of us would want to see. And the reason why it's so important that we have that national inquiry, and I understand that ministers didn't want to progress down that route initially, but I sat in this studio months ago and said it was inevitable that this is where we would end up, because we had a whole slew of fresh allegations that added a whole new layer of scandal to this. Talk of cover-up, conspiracy, that is horrendous. It has to be got to the bottom of it. But also, that's important not just